Okay, we've made it to the last section of our presentation, latent liabilities. Now, I chose this verbiage because I was having a little fun with the alliteration for the title and whatnot, but this section really should be called hidden obligations, and they are your hidden obligations. And you'll have three major ones to deal with. Now, I've already touched on the first one, which is the false assumption that you'll be in a lower tax bracket when you retire. Years ago, this assumption was pretty much a given for all the reasons that you're already aware of. But I want to share a quote with you from an article that appeared in the U.S. News and World Report way back in 1989. So the fallacy of this assumption was already recognized way back then, and yet it still persists today. The article was written by a gentleman by the name of Leo Wiedner, and it was entitled How Congress is Peddling IRA and 401k Snake Oil. Here's what he wrote. One of the original IRA and 401k tenets held that deferring tax until retirement was advantageous because funds would likely be taxed at a lower rate. That is no longer axiomatic. He went on to say, you may well spend retirement in the same or higher tax bracket if you accumulate a respectable retirement nest egg. In fact, taxes will likely rise in the future to cover budget deficits. End quote. So, is it really the best idea to postpone the inevitable and compound your tax problem? Well, I can't answer that for you, obviously. It's a judgment that you're going to have to make for yourself. But it's something that you need to know, be aware of, so that you can decide and make an intelligent decision on. Now, liability number 2 is the actual tax consequence that you and your heirs will be responsible for during the withdrawal phase of your retirement, and then again when you pass away. As Ed Slott put it in his book, The Retirement Savings Time Bomb, and I quote, due to a complex combination of distribution and estate taxes that kick in at retirement or death, millions of you are at risk of losing much, perhaps even most, of your retirement savings. He goes on to say, and I quote, virtually all retirement money is distributed according to what is commonly referred to as the IRA distribution rules. These are among the most complicated rules in the entire U.S. tax code. Look at it this way. What good is making even a 50% return on an investment if, at the time of withdrawal, taxes will step in to claim 70, 80, or maybe even 90% of it? End quote. So, what strategies are your advisors helping you implement to minimize these ridiculous tax consequences that you're going to face when you go to withdraw your money from the 401k? Finally, we've got liability number 3, and it's the combination of fees and expense ratios that are buried inside your plan and the underlying investments within the plan. Fees and expenses are a huge negative issue regarding investment returns because whatever return you earn, you have to subtract out these costs in order to figure out your true return. And unlike Uncle Sam, your 401k plan doesn't wait until you retire before they extract their pound of flesh. They'll take it right now, which can have a dramatic impact on your long-term growth. And most people are completely unaware of what the expenses are inside of their plan. Now, here's a quote from an article that appeared on investmentnews.com back in May of this year. The law doesn't require 401k plans to disclose their fees to investors in any comprehensive way. Is it any wonder then that 80% of investors aren't aware of the fees they are being charged in their 401k plan? Now, here's another quote that I pulled from efficientfrontier.com, where they wrote, each quarter, with the arrival of their 401k statements, it is slowly dawning on them that there's more to retirement investing than throwing money at the most popular growth fund around the water cooler. A few may even be starting to realize that costs matter. Obviously, I mean, think about it. If your 401k is generating, let's say, an average return of 10%, and your costs and fees that are in the plan, both on the plan itself and your investments, let's say add up to 4% of your overall return, that means that while you're earning 10, you're really only netting 6%. Okay? And that's why it's so important to understand the costs and fees. Now, here finally is a quote from an article written by Dr. William Bernstein. He's the author of The Intelligent Asset Allocator. Now, this quote is not from the book. It's actually from an article that he wrote that appeared in Barron's back in 2001. The article was entitled Writing for a Fall. The 401k is likely to turn out to be a defined chaos retirement plan. In it, he wrote, the average long-term investor will receive the market return minus plan expenses. The typical 401k plan is an absurdly expensive vehicle with fees approaching 3%, according to benefits consultant Brooks Hamilton. Add commissions and other costs from frenetic trading at the funds, and the typical fund company services participants in the same way that Babyface Nelson serviced banks. So, here is a recap of the 3 latent liabilities that you're going to have to deal with. Number 1 is the false assumption of retiring into a lower tax bracket. Number 2 is the substantial tax consequences that you will face when you get to retirement in the withdrawal phase, and also when you pass away. And granted, you won't be the one directly dealing with that, but your family will. And then 3, the plan and investment fees. Well, I certainly hope that you found this information revealing. I hope it sparked a few new questions for you to begin asking your HR department and your advisors about. And as I mentioned earlier, you're more than welcome to contact our offices, and we can put you in touch with a qualified advisor who'd be happy to take your questions and share some innovative strategies and tactics with you that you might want to consider.